Okay, a quick question before I start, and this is just to gauge the audience. If I ask you to rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10, as far as your expertise with HTML5 is concerned, where 0 means beginner and 10 means super expert, how many of you will rate yourself below 3? How many of you will rate yourself above 8? Okay, fair enough. The reason I asked you this question was, I gave a different the topic was same, and probably it's a surprise for the organizers also, that I gave a different presentation in G Chennai, and the presentation was named as HTML5, the web can do that. And my focus was talking about what's new in HTML5. That's why probably he introduced that the wow experiences HTML5 and what is the committee working on and all that. I thought there is no point in repeating the same thing at 5 different places because it's not something specific to a Google technology or something. It's available openly. And so I thought I'll talk something more special, more energetic, and filled with more magic moments in Bangalore. So here is that magical language whose lots of demos we are going to see today instead of just talking about what is there and what is not there. Well, HTML, not exactly HTML, something is missing. HTML5. And this 5 is very important because HTML5 indeed is a phenomenal leap from HTML4 and it tries to take the web development at the next level. This is only theory slide I'm going to promise. Beyond this, we're just going to have a lot of demos. So what does HTML5 do which the other previous versions of HTML did not do? HTML5 is secure, is fast, is quite responsive, and as you saw on the previous slide, is extremely interactive. It can be used to create stunningly beautiful user-facing applications, and not just user-facing applications, but there are a lot of ways where you can also interact with the hardware, do extremely low-level stuff, and that is why it makes HTML5 provides ways to create applications as complex as desktop applications. There are a lot of features in HTML5 which will bridge the gap between online and offline, as you're going to see in demos today, bridge the gap between 2D and 3D, bridge the gap between server and client. It helps the development to a lot extent by providing a lot of new constructs in JavaScript. It makes browsers more secure than ever, and okay, that's it. So with this introduction, let's now move to a couple of demos. I think I have 10 demos on this in presentation. I don't know how much time it will take. Let's see how many of them we can complete. Just 2 small things. I have been asked to inform you that questions I'll take at the end, because if questions start, probably we'll not be able to complete all the demos. So please reserve your questions at the end. There are mugs, and of course, if the time doesn't allow us to interact completely, I am available outside till the program ends. And second, just so that all of us are aware of the difficulty level, I have rated each demo based on 5-star rating. It's not about how impressive or how catchy the demo is, it's how difficult or easy it is to build. So let's start with a very simple demo that you can build probably using 2 lines of CSS3. And here is a nice rainbow spiral that can be built just by using 2 new features that have been introduced with HTML5. Before I explain you how to do it, you can see 2 controls over here, and let's see what happens if I change these controls. Some very nice and impressive diagrams can be created. And on next slide, believe me, I'm going to show you it's just 2 lines of code. Pardon me? No, I'm not talking about this slider. This slider is done using range tag. What he's saying is but this demo is not the slider demo. This demo is the figure. That is why I initially asked you how much you are familiar with. I assume that you will know slider thing. Okay, so yes, what he's saying, you want, no, it's not the canvas. That's what I'm saying. It's 2 lines of code, and I'm going to show you how to do it on the next slide. Whosoever said range gets a mug. I don't mean whosoever said range gets mug. For this, when he said range, it got a mug. So, okay, so what I'm doing is there are a lot of figures over there, and that first control is telling how many figures to render, and the second control is telling how much each figure should be rotated with respect to the other, with respect to its outer figure. So let's reduce this to the minimum number of figures, for example, just 2 figures, and now you can see that this is nothing but a square with a rainbow effect in it and a multiple squares embedded inside each other and rotated with the given angle. So if you just change the number of squares and you change the angle of rotation, such beautiful figures are possible. So how do we do it? As I promised, it's a 2-line code. In the first 2-line CSS code. In the first line, I am saying background image. With HTML5, you can now create images without requiring to have images. You can create gradients without requiring to have images by using the background image tag. So you have background image which says linear gradient. It's a gradient that runs from left top to right bottom. Because the figure is rotated, you see it from top to bottom, actually diagonally. And then you can see the color steps that at 0% it should be red, at 16% it should be orange, up to at 84 indigo and all that. And on the second line, I am saying that please rotate this figure. This transform is also a new HTML5 construct, and you say that rotate by 20 degrees, and this is how the figure appears. So how was the code created on the previous line? It's a simple 5 lines of JavaScript code which creates divs on the fly by taking the number of divs and the angle of rotation and keeps on nesting them inside each other. It's real time. You have seen that it doesn't affect performance at all. It was worth a set of claps that we have given. Okay, now from 1 star to 2 star. Now what I'm going to do next is pretty risky. Please bear with me if it doesn't work. Blue. Okay. Blue. Okay, so it's probably, that's why I said HTML5 audio tag is one of the new enhancements. So let's try once again. Blue. Red. Okay, let's see. I'll move on to the next slide and I'll show you how this is done. But what happens is, I'm now going to tell you what happens, unfortunately. So when I say blue, no surprise, it colors in blue. So let's try out. If it doesn't work, other demos, I'll come back to this. So, okay, so I'll just explain you how this is created. So there are a couple of things actually that on previous slide you see. The Google logo that you see is not just rendered using a normal font. Okay, there is some new constructs that HTML5 provides, which are, as you can see, yeah, you can see text fill color, text stroke color, and text width. These are the ones that are used to create that effect, Google effect you see, and fill it over there. And then you can see this speech input is, so here you say input tag, which is a text input tag, and you can see XWebKit speech is a special attribute that is provided with this tag. This is again a new addition with HTML5, which will tell you to show a nice input box with a speaker on the right hand side. And then I have hidden that input box with a couple of more HTML5. As of now, it works on only WebKit based browsers, that's right. So that's why it's XWebKit speech. So one more thing that happens now, I just unfortunately have to tell you orally that if I say blue and then if I say red and if I say yellow, and then if I keep on pressing the back buttons, it will remember the colors, and from yellow it will go back to red, and from red it will go back to blue and all that. This facility or this feature of looking into or writing to the browser back button history is given by one more HTML5 API called History API. I'll just go through this code. So setColor is the function which will get called when I speak over there. I'm coloring that Google logo, and I'm saying that please take the URL and put the given color over there and push the state in the history object which is made available by HTML5. And then when you press the back button, I'm saying that pop state is the event that gets fired, which is this event is designed by HTML5, and I'm just putting a handler to this event. Okay, let's move ahead. Little bit with some simple things. One worked, one did not work. I don't know what is going to happen to the rest of the demos. Okay, it's a cube. Let's try if this happens or not. Okay, so it's a very nice, simple rotating cube, as you can see. And again, it's like 10 lines of HTML5 code that helps you to do this. It's not just a rotating cube. You can see a lot of things. One of the faces, there is a clock that is real time. On some other face, there is a text. On yet other face, it's an opaque face. And there is one of the transparent faces. On one of the face, there is a video running and all that. So these are just 6 different divs that have been arranged, transformed, and rotated in a special way so that they look like a cube. And on the next slide, I'm going to explain, probably it will take a while, but I'm going to explain how to do this using maybe 8 to 10 lines of CSS code. So step 1, we know that cube has 6 faces, so we are going to get all these faces right. So I have created an outer class div called cube outer, and then there will be 6 different cube faces that will be nested inside this. And these are some simple CSS things. I have given different colors for 6 different faces, and I have made them overlap at one another because later on I want to transform them at their appropriate place. So when this code gets executed, you can see that these 6 squares are lying over one another. You can see they're transparent, so you can see traces of the previous number, the 5, 4, and the numbers that are hidden back. So with this first step, I'm getting the HTML and CSS right, and I just have 6 faces one over the other. Now in the next step, of course I don't want all the faces like this. I want to rotate them. So I'm going to say keep one face as it is. This much is pretty simple till now. Keep one face as it is. Rotate one by 90 like this, other by 90 like this, third 180, fourth 90 like this, and fifth 90 like this. So here is a simple example. Second face gets rotated by 90 like this. Observe that it becomes transparent, it becomes invisible because it's exactly along your line of sight. Third gets rotated by 180, fourth again 90. You might think 2 and 4 are rotating in the same direction, but it's an optical illusion. You can see the code over here. One is being rotated as minus 90, and the other is getting rotated at 90. Fifth is rotating upwards, and sixth is rotating downwards. Again, WebKit transform is Chrome and Safari specific, but HTML5 provides something called transform. You can use Moz transform or OP transform or MS transform for various browsers. So once these 6 faces, now these 6 I have just shown you rotating in different ways. When we have placed them on one another and apply the same effect over here, this looks like this. All 6 faces get rotated, and you can only see the front face which is not rotated and the backmost face which is rotated by 180 degrees. Let me show this once again. All 6 faces are over here, and you can see the movement. So in the second step, all faces have been rotated, but they are at the center. So there is one face is like this, 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 and so on. They're still at the center. I still have to move them to their appropriate places. So probably the next correct step is move these 2 faces along x-axis, move these 2 faces along y-axis, and move these 2 faces along z-axis. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. This is because, let's go to the next slide and let me explain you with this small demo. Hope it works. These are 2 simple divs. What I'm going to do, on one div, I'm going to do a transformation first, translation first, and then a rotation. On the second div, I'm going to do the rotation first and then the translation. Apparently, it doesn't make a difference. I translate by 10 pixel, I rotate by 30 degrees, or I rotate by 30 degrees and then I translate by 10 pixel. Actually, see what happens. On this green div, I am afraid it's going to go up away the screen. First, it translates and it rotates. Fair enough. And now let's look at the red div. It rotates and translates somewhere else. Moral of the story is that transformations are not commutative. A followed by B is not same as B followed by A. The reason for this is that translation is simple enough. You translate, you rotate, that's it. But when you rotate, not just the object, but the entire coordinate system rotates along with it. As a result, I rotate it to 30 degrees, and then when I say translate along x-axis, the new x-axis also has been rotated to 30 degrees, and so it translates along x-axis. If we understand this principle that transformations are not commutative, we'll understand how to move the faces from the center along the correct directions. So, as of now, all our faces are in the center. One of the faces doesn't move because it's the number 1 which hasn't been transformed. The second face needs to move back by probably say 100 pixel. I would have ideally done it as transform z minus 100. This is x, this is y, and this is z. But because the face has been rotated by 180 degrees, I need to instead say transform z plus 100 px. Similarly, when this face has been rotated like this, I would have and I want to move it here, I probably would have said transform x minus 50 minus 100 px minus 50 px, whatever. But because the coordinate system has been rotated, the x-axis is now this, y-axis is this, and z-axis is this, and therefore I again say transform z 100 px. if you think on that, for all 5 faces which you want to transform, the only transformation that you have to apply is transform Z by that specific number of pixels. That's what we are doing in this previous slide. So I'm saying that I'm transforming along, first I'm rotating by 0 degrees, rotating by 180 degrees that we have already seen, and then each of the face gets translated along Z axis by same amount because of the rotation of the coordinate system. So let's see what happens after applying all these effects. Just ignore that cube outer thing at the top. I am concentrating on this area over here. So once that is applied, let's see how stuff looks like. You can see, shall I repeat it once again? All the faces are now rotated and translated. It's no more looking like a cube, but now what we know is that the faces have been rotated and they are at least at the correct place. The reason why this doesn't look like cube from any angle is that now you are exactly looking in front of the cube. So you can see the front face, you can see the back face, you cannot see these 2 faces, the exactly perpendicular line of sight, you cannot see the top 2 faces. So you are like a small ant standing in front of the cube and you can only see the top and the front face. The next step is to make sure that let's try to, if we can add some perspectives to it. By perspective, what I mean, by perspective I mean that we should set this figure in such a way that closer entities appear larger than the entities that are far. For example, this remote control appears to me larger than the door, not because it's actually larger, but because of the perspective, the way I am standing and the way I am looking. So that's what the first line of this outer cube does. This perspective is not to be applied individually on every face, but it's applied on the entire cube as a whole. That's why the attributes are written on the cube outer class. So I'm saying I'm going to put the perspective as these are experimental figures. You try out 500, 600. This looks good as 1200. So let me try to use the perspective now and see what happens. Okay, now at least something good is happening. Face number 1 and face number 3, they are now of different sizes. Face number 3 is closer to me, face number 1 is beyond, or what the way you want to look like. And because the size is different, you can see the connecting face here and the connecting face here. Still it doesn't look like a cube. Still the other 3 faces are completely hidden. I would at least like to see 4 or 5 of them. The correct way to do this is to move yourself to a place where you can see you are not in the front of the cube, but towards probably a corner or a side. So this is achieved by transforming your origin. So you say, I have set the perspective, but the place from the perspective, the origin of the perspective, I'm going to change, and let's move along x-axis to 300 pixels, y-axis to 200 pixels, and there it is. It's exactly a cube that I showed you on the first slide. So these are a couple of steps, 3 steps. If you apply them in one after the other in the order, we'll be able to get this cube. So at the end of this step, we know how to get a cube using perspectives and transforms and all that. The next step is pretty easy, capture the arrow keys. So this is a simple JavaScript code. I have captured the number keys because there are only 4 arrow keys. I wanted to show rotations on all 6 directions, plus, minus, x, y, z. So I said capture the arrow keys. I'm going to rotate the entire cube. So with 1 arrow key, difference is 90 degrees. I want to rotate it through the entire plane. So I'm going to say plus difference, minus difference, and all that. Once I define these variables, I create a string which represents the transformation, and this is how you can change CSS properties using JavaScript. I say the div.style.webkit transform and add this information over here. And finally, add the event listener that when I press any of the keys, I should call the rotate cube function. So this is how that cube is created on the previous slide. What I have not shown is how to add those videos and Angry Bird pictures and all that on that cube. That's pretty simple. Inside every div that represents a face, you add whatever material you want to add. By the way, the video uses the video tag that was provided using HTML5. What I did not show in that demo is for example, if I now rotate, you can see even the video controls are rotating along with it. Okay, so this is, in my opinion, pretty awesome. Okay, let's move ahead to, after such a big explanation, how much time? Half an hour is over. So let's go to something pretty simple. Again, let's try if it works or not. Cool. So this is not hard-coded. This actually worked just now. So it's trying to say where I am, and this is made possible by HTML5 geolocation APIs. So as you can see over here, navigator.geolocation.getCurrentPosition is the function that I'm calling. It takes a success handler. If I'm able to get the current position, the position is passed to the success handler, and I'm getting the accuracy, latitude, and longitude. And then, as I'm sure you must have heard about the Google Maps today afternoon, so this is the Google Maps API I'm using. The process of drawing the map is done by Google Maps API. The process of telling where to put that blue pin is done by HTML5 navigation geolocation API. So this marker is the blue pin that you see on the map, and rest all is probably self-explanatory. Let's move ahead. Oh, okay, let's see what happens. I'm not doing anything, lifting my laptop. Awesome. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So this is made possible by device orientation APIs provided by HTML5. So you say device orientation is the new event that is introduced with HTML5. It depends on the accelerometer that is present in the laptop. So you say add an event listener over there, get the direction, get the front to back tilt, get the left to right tilt. These three things are provided by HTML5. Rest all is the transformation magic. So if you see on the previous slide, I'm going to tell you some secrets. That blue thing, red, yellow, the gray one that you see at the back, and the whichever remaining color is. All these 5 are 5 different images. They are not. This is not a Chrome. This looks like a Chrome logo, but this is not a Chrome logo that is being taken from the server. There are 5 different images, and these 5 different images, as you can see over here, they all have a class called layer. So I'm saying that document, by the way, document.query selector all is also an HTML5 stuff. It will, you give it a proper CSS string, and then it returns a class string or ID or a tag name or whatever, and it gives a list of all entities that match that pattern. So dot layer indicates all the images that have layer as a class. So I'm just looping through all these elements, and as you can see, I'm using gamma and beta to define x and y, which in turn I'm going to use to define left, top, and finally the transformations. So each of these 5 figures gets a different transformation based on this loop, and that is how the previous effect is achieved. It won't do, because there is no accelerometer, correct. Okay, again, something interesting. I'm not doing anything. This is a Chrome logo. By the way, you see it's not spinning in a linear fashion. Chrome is awesome, and there is an awesome way in which it is spinning. So it's slowly spinning first and then is going probably fast and all that. So this is very simple. This is done by HTML5 animation tags. You provide how much time it should animate to, whether it should animate infinite times or how many times and all that. And you also provide a Bezier curve. So if you provide a Bezier function, which I have provided over here, it will follow that Bezier function, it will do the animations accordingly. But I think this demo was a 3-star. And HTML5 animation, of course it's awesome, but it doesn't really get a 3-star rating. So there is something more to this demo. Let me show you. Again, I'm not doing anything. I'm, again, pretty risky taking out the LAN cable. It stopped. Cool. So it started again. Again, I take the LAN cable off. It stopped. So somehow it appears that it is honoring whether I am offline or online. And as somebody said, this is made possible by offline, online, the APIs that tell whether you are online or offline in HTML5. There's one more thing with this demo. It's a 3-star, so I should have 3 different features. Okay, so I go to a different tab and come back, and Chrome is sad that I left him. Okay. This is made possible by yet another HTML5 API which tells whether you have changed the tabs or not, or whether your document has lost its visibility or not. So let's have a look at the code to understand. First, for those who are not aware of the animation stuff, here is how we define HTML5 animations. Keyframe is the keyword. Actually, WebKit implementations use -WebKit -keyframes. Keyframe is what is specified by HTML5 standard. So I say I'm going to put an animation called spin. I'm going to start a transformation which is a rotate 0, correct, central place, and then I'm going to lead it to rotation of a huge amount, say -160, whatever. So this is how I'm defining a keyframe. Please understand it's a standalone animation definition. It's not yet associated with any picture or div or whatever. And then I say on the second line that this Chrome logo, this WebKit animation or animation tag, use the animation called spin which is defined here. Please spin it for 12 seconds. Infinite, repeat it again and again, don't stop after one step, and use this Bezier function for doing the animation. So that slow effect and then fast effect and then again slow effect and fast, all this thing is possible by doing this. You can use predefined words like linear or ease in, ease out or whatever, or if you want to use some sophisticated animations, you can use this. The way it's able to detect whether you are online or you're offline is by this. So you say WebKit animation play state is animation play state. For a WebKit we are going to say WebKit animation play state. So the property over here, you can access this in CSS as -WebKit -animation -play state. But for JavaScript you have to say WebKit animation play state, and this navigator.online is a property provided by HTML5 which tells whether you are online or offline. Unfortunately, it's a property, it's not an event. So it doesn't get fired if you change from online or offline. It only tells at the moment where you have queried whether you are online or offline. So what I'm doing is I'm running a set interval function. I'm continuously looping through this property, a bad thing I know, but continuously looping through this property. Every 250 milliseconds, I'm checking whether the state is online or offline. If it's online, I'm putting the animation play state as running. These are all keywords defined by HTML5. Animation play state can be running or can be paused. So I'm saying that animation play state is running if it's online, animation play state is paused if offline. And this remaining part of the code tells how we can track the tab change event. So if you say, so the event, now this is an event provided. So the event is visibility change. Chrome implements it as WebKit visibility change, and this is the event handler. I'm saying that if document or WebKit hidden is again a property which tells whether the given document is hidden or not. If it's hidden, then initially the sad face is invisible, but if it gets hidden, I'm saying sad face.classlist.remove. Again, class list is something that was not there before HTML5. The ability to get a list of classes that are associated with a div, ability to add a class, ability to remove a class, ability to toggle a class, all this is provided by HTML5 class list JavaScript enhancement. So I say the sad face class list, please remove this invisible tag. And then this part of the code is worth looking at it. When otherwise, I have come back to the page. So I'm saying that you saw that there was a sad face over there, and after 200 milliseconds, after 2 seconds or something, it went off. So this is the one that is saying that please keep that after 2 seconds, 2000 milliseconds, please run this code of removing the sad face. And before you actually run the code, make sure that the document is still, the user is still on that page. Because if the user goes away within those 2 seconds, there is no point in having that sad face removal code to run. Okay, now we are moving to 4-star stuff. That's okay. We have around 28 minutes. Cool. This game does not use Flash. This game is purely HTML5 based. Okay. And as a matter of fact, in next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you how to build this game. So as somebody was saying at the start, this is a classic example of how Canvas can be used. And I don't want to take the credit. This game I have taken up from this place, and this is not just a game, it's a very nice tutorial. I would recommend all of you to go back and look at this tutorial to find out how to build this game step by step. So this is a simple bouncing ball game. You can use that stick over there to move around, and the bricks on the top get kicked off when you hit them and all that. So how do we go about it? It all starts with writing a tag called canvas. So this is one of the very impressive and new additions in HTML5, the ability to do drawings natively in HTML5. There are 2 different tags given by HTML5 for this. You have a canvas and you have SVG. Canvas is used for bitmap drawings. SVG is used for vector graphics. So this is the bitmap drawing that I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So it starts with a canvas. You give a width and height to the canvas. Understand the canvas itself is invisible. You cannot see the canvas, and what you write inside the canvas, you cannot see that. Everything that is to be painted on the canvas has to be done through JavaScript. So first I create a canvas like this. This is a simple HTML code, and then I say I want to init a canvas. So init the canvas means get the context of the canvas. So this is also the way you get the canvas context. The context is the handle to the canvas on which we will be painting. That CTX will be used everywhere in our code. So I'm going to say that get the element by ID canvas and gets a context called 2D. If you want to do WebGL based work, you should say get context 3D or but I don't know how much is supported as of now. No. This is I have defined document.get. Dollar is document.get element by ID. It's not jQuery dollar. Yeah, I've overridden it. No, I'm not using jQuery, so there is no reason to override. Okay, so I've just to avoid typing and make this fit on the slide, I've used dollar means document.get element by ID for those who think what I'm talking. So I'm initiating the canvas. Context is what I put the canvas handle in it. And then there's a simple function that draws a circle, and there's a simple function that draws a rectangle. If you see on the previous game, it's only made up of circles and rectangles to start with. So here is a circle. I say begin path is all canvas related code which is specified by the canvas specification. So I begin a path, I draw an arc, I provide the starting point, I provide the radius, I provide how much angle, true, anti-clockwise or clockwise and all that. I close the path. Finally, I fill with the color that so I define a fill style and I fill with the color with which I want to fill. And then similarly, I draw a rectangle, I begin a path, I draw a rectangle, I close the path and fill all that. Sounds good. Now this is how we plan to add the motion to the ball. How do we do it? We are going to say that let's write a function called draw. So let me first clear the canvas, and as you can see here, last line, I'm going to call the draw function again and again every 10 milliseconds, and every time it is called, the position of the ball will be recalculated. Okay, so it's like a polling, it's not polling exactly, it's like a looping every 10 seconds and every 10 milliseconds, and the position is recalculated. As you see, it's not flickering or something, it's pretty fast and real time. So what I'm doing over here, every time I'm calling a draw, I'm saying that please draw a circle at x and y are global variables. So draw a circle x, y, and then I've already defined how a circle function looks like. And then there is a check for the bouncing. So if x plus dx is greater than canvas width, or dx is the amount by which it's going to move in x-axis, dy is the amount by which it's going to move in y-axis, dx plus means positive x-axis, ds minus 1 means negative x-axis, and all that. So I'm trying to check every now and then if x plus dx is going beyond the canvas from either of the sides, then flip the direction. So if it's going this way, it will come here. If it's going this way, it will come here. Similarly, I'm doing with y, and then adding the required stuff. This simultaneous motion with changes in x and y direction is what gives this effect. So believe me, this is the exact code. If you write this, you will get this kind of effect. Okay, the third one, the last part. Now we know how to draw rectangles. Now we know how to draw circles. Now we know how to bounce them. Let's see how to capture the mouse movements. So this is what I'm capturing a mouse movement. I'm saying that the mouse movement should be captured when my mouse is on the anywhere on the rectangular block or figure, whatever you want to say. So this is a quick code to check whether the mouse event, the x and y coordinates of the mouse event are somewhere between the canvas. Then you handle x is the x coordinate of the handle that was moving below. So you put the handle x at an appropriate place, and then bounce of the ball only on colliding with the handle. So I don't want to bounce at any other place. I only want to bounce when it collides with the handle. So I'm saying that if a couple of constraints are satisfied, like the coordinate of the ball is greater than the place where handle starts and less than the place where handle ends, handle w is handle width, handle x is x coordinate and all that, then you only change the y, means reflect. So what is going to happen if it comes like this, is going to go like this. If it comes like this, it's going to go like this. You're going to change y, which means you're going to reflect it. And if it doesn't work, then clear interval means which means stop redrawing, which means your game has ended. So So as you saw that when that handle did not move, it just went down and it stopped. So that's all, probably 3 slides, and you will be, and of course there's something else which I did not show, is pretty trivial. When the ball collides with any of the bricks on the top, you change the state of the bricks from display block to display none. And that colliding code is exactly this one, checking whether, here we are checking whether the ball is bouncing from the handle below, same code to check whether the ball is bouncing from the brick on the top. Okay. Okay, next again 4-star demo is a piano. Let's try. Okay, what is special in this piano and why it, why it not just audio API, there's something else over here. So why it is given 4-star is that these are not audio files. They are not being streamed from the server. This audio is synthesized right in the browser at runtime when I press the key. HTML5 provides us an audio synthesis API which allows us to synthesize audio frequencies, audio samples at runtime, as I'm going to show on the next slide. So for example, let's try playing this happy birthday music. I don't know how it's going to play, probably there will be a flicker. You see the keys that are moving. Okay, so anybody who has a happy birthday in audience, and a birthday is there, all best wishes from all G India team. Okay, so by any chance anybody's birthday is there? I can give a mug if somebody has a birthday. So here is how to crack the piano. There are a lot of new things. On the first line you see there is something else. All those who have been programming in JavaScript, JavaScript now comes with typed arrays with HTML5 onwards. So earlier in JavaScript there were no typed arrays, everything, any random things you can put in an array. In HTML5 JavaScript comes with type arrays. So it's an int8 array, which means it's 8-byte integers put in this array. The reason why it comes with type array is that a lot of SVG WebGL related APIs require arrays or require data structures with specific sizes and specific entities in it. And that's why in order for them to avoid checking the types every now and then throwing errors and all that, this construct has been provided by JavaScript. This is a pretty audio processing code, so I don't want to go in the details. As you can see, it's a simple array. There's a square bracket starting, ending, and a couple of figures over there. This, of course, I did not develop it. It's copied from one of the previous IO presentations. So there are 16-bit, there are 32-bit, and there are unsigned as well as signed. So there is signed in, unsigned in, 8, 16, and 32. Okay, and then there are methods on these arrays to set their elements, get their elements, and all that. So this is how to define a header, and you can see I'm not getting the entire array, but an array has an internal buffer that backs the array. So I'm just extracting the buffer out of it from here. And then on the next slide, let's come back to this slide later on. And this is the code that gets played when I say play note, when I press the key. So play note takes a frequency. On the HTML5 piano that you saw, each key has a frequency associated with it. And so I'm calling a play note with a specific frequency and a duration. This top part is again very specific to audio processing. At the end, what I'm doing is I'm getting out an audio sample, and I'm passing the audio sample to the function makeWave, which we skipped on the previous slide. I'm going to come to that. So I'm creating a blob out of this sample, and then I'm passing this blob list of characters to create a URL. This URL is the one which will be passed to the player, and it will get played. So once I get an URL, I pass it to the audio player. Again, this is an HTML5 native audio player. It doesn't use any plugin or something. So an audio player, and I'm finally playing the player. And also one more thing, because this URL gets generated on the fly every time I press the key, once the player ends, I'm calling a callback to revoke that URL. So for example, here is how the URL looks like. I'm playing a frequency note of 220. This is how, you can see it's a blob with, I don't know whether people at the back can see, but it's a blob with HTTP : localhost, and then there is a URL beyond that. Let's change it to 2200. Let's see how it really creates a note of a different frequency. Okay. How many of you can hear 100 hertz? Everybody. 40. Okay, so it's actually generating the frequency on the fly, the wave on the fly of the given frequency. And how do you generate? This is again, some part of this code is deprecated. Deprecated in the sense HTML5 has come up with some new enhancements of this, but nevertheless I'll tell it to you because it worked for a while. I'm creating a blob builder. A blob builder is a construct that is used to create a blob. A data view is a construct that is used to get a low level access to an array. So you remember that header was an array. I'm creating a data view which will get a low level access to an array. By low level access, I mean that array was an integer array. What happens if I want to go at a specific location in that array and want to change stuff? The array construct will, the integer construct will not let me do that. So I'm doing a low level handle to the array. I'm setting a couple of things so at 4th byte, I'm setting the 36 plus, don't ask me why 36 plus sample.length and big endian or little endian, and then at 40th I'm setting the sample length and all that. I'm appending all this stuff, and finally from the blob builder I'm getting a blob. Most of this can be encapsulated behind a new blob constructor that is very recently released, but I did not get time to experiment with it. Probably G Hyderabad we should do that. So that's how the piano is working. So what I'm doing is it's a simple HTML, it's a simple CSS drawing along with, by the way, did I show you there are small things which I probably missed in the, you can see the shadows and all that. That's again a very small addition to a CSS3. So you can see the shadows, and this is actually a shadow. So for example, this part is actually a shadow which is slightly darker in color than the previous one. So these are the shadow is one of the yet another thing that is made available with CSS3. 15 minutes, so I have time for questions. Okay, magic moment 9. Now we are jumping in real grounds, 5-star. This is again purely JavaScript based terminal. That's not it. Probably you did not clap, so I have to show something else. Whenever you want to feel like clapping, just let me know. No, don't clap. There are a lot of things to show. Unfortunately, I don't know how to. Okay. What all stuff is kept over here? I don't know. Look at this. File get added. File gets added over here. A couple of file gets added. Some of the cannot be added, but and you can see the number of files have been increased. Let me add this. Okay. So this is HTML5 drag and drop. I think you might have used it on Chrome for doing attachments to your Gmail. So you can drag it from the desktop. That's exactly that is being implemented over here. You can also, this is slightly smarter than what you think. You can create directory called test123, what? CD test, no, mkdir test123, cd test123. Let's drag something in this directory. Okay, now we can see a couple of things. Okay, I still didn't hear a lot of clapping. So now no, wait. Now I'm going to do something that will probably blast this auditorium with the claps. Okay? Hold your breaths. I'm going to go in the 3D view. Okay? You can see that all the files that I have added over here just now, you can see them in the order they have been added in the directory structure. Okay, now this. You want to see something cool? Let's try drag and drop it here. Yeah, did it get updated in real time? Let's try. Oh, sorry, invalid modification. I don't know what it is. It is expected to get added in the real time. So this is made possible using 3D canvas, or which we typically call WebGL. So this entire thing is built only using HTML5. There is no Flash, there is no backend server connection. Of course, then there is a server connection or anything. What I'm doing over here, lot of things. Number one, there is a drag and drop support. Number two, there is an HTML5 file systems API that I'm demonstrating over, I'm using over here. What I'm exactly doing, HTML5 gives individual sandboxes to individual applications for writing stuff on the disk. Okay, this is pretty similar to cookies, but there are a lot of ways in which you can enhance it for your application. There is local storage, there is session storage, and there are a couple of index DBs, and a lot of stuff is there. But what this uses is not the local storage or anything. It uses the proper file system APIs that is there in HTML5. Let's go back to the presentation, and I'll show you. Again, in next probably 10 minutes, we'll try to see if we can build it. Based on this, based on WebGL, correct. How do you go to the next slide? Okay, so first things first, let's learn how to do drag and drop. This is the code for doing drag and drop. I am saying on drop is the handle provided by HTML5. I am saying on drop, you drop, I'm calling a function. On drag over, I'm calling another function. Draggable is true is attached to this image, which means that image is draggable. And on drag start, I'm calling a function. So code is pretty simple. When I say drag, I'm saying that when I start dragging this image, whatever is the ID of the image, put in the attribute called text, and when I drop it, read it from the text, get the element from the DOM, and put it in the required area. So effectively, when I start dragging, the ID gets captured in one of the local variables, and when I drop it, the ID is read, the corresponding element is read from the DOM, and it's reappended to the place where the drop happened. So look at this. This is again exactly what you must have seen for a lot of time. Yes, and this is what the file systems API looks like. We have only 10 minutes, so let's run through this. I want to keep time for questions. So here is what I'm getting a handle to the file system. You can get a temporary file system, or you can get a permanent file system, temporary storage or a permanent storage. 5 MB is the maximum size that you can get, and of course there is an error handler and a success handler and all that. Once you get an handle, of course, as I mentioned, you cannot talk to the file system, give off some other application. Every application has a specific root associated with its file system, and that's given by fs.root. So I'm saying fs.root to get the root associated with my file system. This is inside this success handler, error handler code. So you say get the file, name of the file, and you give a couple of parameters. When you say create is equal to true, it will create the file if it doesn't exist. When you say exclusive is equal to true, it will, if the file exists, it will give an error. If the file doesn't exist, it will create, and all that. Once this function gets its work done, it calls a success handler by passing the entry to the file. So I'm saying that now I read a file by saying file entry dot file. This is the way I can read a file. I can create a writer, and I can remove the file. I can create a writer to write to the file, append to the file, and all that. So this is of course a high level overview because I need to stop in 2-3 minutes. But this is the basic framework by which you can do interactions with the file system. So there were 3 things as I mentioned. Number 1, I told you about drag and drop. Number 2, I told you about the file systems. And number 3, that 3D effect was done by WebGL. And it's too complex for me to explain over here. I myself don't understand it perfectly well. So instead of showing it, instead of explaining what WebGL is and how it does a lot of things, let me excite you with yet another demo. So this is purely based on WebGL. Let it load. It will take a while, I think, to load. It's a Chrome experiment. There are a lot of Chrome experiments available that use HTML5 exclusively. Just Google for Chrome experiments and you'll be able to see. So this WebGL bookcase, while it is loading, let me explain you. It's a 3D bookcase where Google Books, these are not random books or random images that you will see over here. If you probably know, there are thousands of books available on Google Books, and these are the books that are just taken from that place and nicely displayed in a graphical format. Please upload, please fast. Okay, so if it's, while it's loading, I don't know whether it will work or not. let's try to go to the original side and see what happens. Okay, now look at this. This is all, and then if you click there, you will go to Google Books and all that. So it's very well integrated with Google Books. Very bad picture that I've put over here. So it's pretty well integrated with Google Books, and this all is done not by again using Flash or anything, but purely using HTML5. Okay, so I think these were a couple of demos that I wanted to show you. Let me take a minute to wrap around the entire discussion. There are a couple of more demos that will really make you say, wow. Here is something, let's do one of them. This is a blow up video, here is a, okay, this is a video running, and again this is a canvas rendered over the video. So what happens is when I click this video, it gets blown up. Okay? Pretty cool, only HTML5. The video tag is HTML5, the click handlers and the spreading effect is all done using canvas. Let's say something else. Okay. If you want, you can start the music for this. This is worth a music. Okay, in G Hyderabad, I'm going to tell them which music to run for this. Again, how did we do this? Okay. Again, how did we do this? Purely using canvas, and you can see all this jumping effect and all that is just the canvas effect. What else? Do I have anything to show? Okay, so time to dive in deeper. I hope that I have spread a little bit of my energy and enthusiasm and fever of HTML5, and I hope this will make you go back and do a lot of research on HTML5. So here are a couple of links. You can see a lot of nice articles, presentations, a lot of demos. The experiment that I took was from chromeexperiments.com. You can check. HTML5 is pretty new, so some browsers don't support it fully, some browsers support it, some features they support it. For example, Internet Explorer, I don't know, they don't still support Canvas, at least till 8 or 9, they don't support Canvas. So when you are developing an application, it's a trade-off that you have to make, how latest features should be used and how much it should be browser compatible. So you can go to these sites called caniuse.com or modernizer.com or html5please.com. And these sites will tell you which feature is implemented in which browser to which extent. And then you can ask a couple of questions related to Chrome, you can file bugs and all that. And well, so that whole presentation was because I believe that the future is going to lie in our browsers henceforth. Thanks a lot for being a nice audience. And if we have time, we can take questions. Otherwise, I'll take it outside. No issues. So.
One minute. Let me check what time we have. We have 3 minutes. You can still take it on.
Yeah, your mic.
The mic stands are there. If you have a question, please walk towards the mic. Thank you. Yeah. Run. Yeah. I think we're going to take 2 questions. That'll be enough. Anyone who reaches that stand first gets a chance. Run.
And get some up.
Run.
Yeah.
Run, man.
The question is this.
Yeah.
In some 4th or 5th slide, you showed hiding if the current. Okay. Is the current tab hidden or not? Right. There's an API which says whether the current tab is hidden or not. So the problem is the guy switched from tab 1 to tab 2. Can I get the location of tab 2? As in, what page is he on when the first tab is hidden?
So what happens is when you go to tab 2, the WebKit that change event is fired on tab 1 as well as tab 2. Tab 1 gets false and tab 2 gets
right.
true.
That's right. But staying on tab 1, I
no,
need to know.
You cannot get because it's not just tab change. It's also a window change. So even if you go to a different application altogether, it will understand that you are inactive. It's only to check whether you are active on that
or
page
inactive.
or inactive.
There's no API to know on which window I'm on. right? Okay, thank you.
YouTube does not.
Hello. Yeah.
Okay,
YouTube does not support HTML5 in a better way. When can we expect it?
yeah, same question I got in Chennai also. I don't have an answer to. Yeah, but I don't have an answer. What he's saying is probably when we'll start.
Worker threads.
Yeah, it lacked a lot of things. The reason is that I cannot talk about HTML5 even in this entire 2-day conference. So I had to pick up 10 things which I did not present in Chennai. So here is a treat. If you come to all 5 G-Days, you will see 50 different effects, 10 different effects at each place. So that's the way I am organizing it. So for example, I did not talk about web workers. I did not talk about web fonts. I did not talk about lot of new things, index DB, I did not talk about session storage and all that. There's just phenomenally many things that just can't give justice.
So what's your take on HTML5 for mobile devices? Because the previous speaker was kind of strongly vouching for apps. So what do you think? And
so I never developed on mobile till now, so I am not the correct person to answer this. I love HTML5, that's my take on it. So.
Excuse me.
It's my time.
Here,
center.
Anybody speak, just I can.
Balcony.
Yeah, center.
Yeah.
Hi.
Can we have this PPT shared along with
Yes,
us?
I'll make this PPT.
Okay, he will share with you and he'll share everything outside at pod 1. We don't have any much time. Can we have a big hand for the man?
Thanks.
Was it true what I told about the man? I told you because the man is in power pack, man. Come on, give it up. You gotta give a big hand for the man.